Right, okay. I'll carry on with this in just a minute, just a little bit of demo. A couple of things I just wanted to ask. Well, one thing was about ideas for next year. So when I asked a couple of weeks ago what ideas you had, I also asked all my other classes. So I've basically come up with a list. So I'll send these round, and if you could just tick anything that appeals to you, do as many as you want, and then I'll come up with a program probably next week for the coming year, based on this and based on what I think is we should be doing. So a bit of a mixed year. Okay, so I'll do that in a minute. The other thing you need to do is think about when we want to stop for a Christmas break. So there's a couple of options. We could either, so we usually stop for 2 weeks around Christmas. So we could either make the 14th of December our last session, or we can make the 21st of December our last session. So if it's the 14th, we'd probably come back on the 4th of January. If it's the 21st, probably come back on the 11th, unless you wanted a shorter break. So who thinks we should make the 14th our last one? Quick show of hands. Sorry? And that would be come back on the 4th. That work? Yeah, and who prefer to make the 21st?
Maybe not either. I'm working Wednesday, makes sense to me.
Okay, I think probably looks like 14th then. So we'll make the 14th and then come back on the 4th. I think that probably works quite well. I think that's quite good. Yeah. Good, right, okay. So last week, that was my demo from last week. And I've done the same sort of thing in my other classes, just did an underpainting demo. And I'm not quite happy with it yet, but yeah, so 14th will be our last one, and then we'll come back on the 4th of January. Yeah, 4th, yeah. Yep, I'll put it on the emails as well, so that everybody gets to hear. Yeah, so really, it kind of that's a slightly more completed underpainting. There is more to do really, but I thought I'd just demonstrate the next stage really. So I'll do that now, which is probably I'll probably work from the background to the foreground now. So perhaps some sky. I might just make a suggestion of where the lights are going to be, although I wouldn't really completely anything. So let's see, maybe a couple of lights. I've actually moved this over a little bit, so I've got to kind of reinvent it a little bit. So perhaps a few lights there. And these I can then work into as well. And then the top of the Kersal building. It's actually a little bit clearer in my painting to see this bit, because it would be perhaps not as red as that, but there'd be a little bit of light in the colour there. So I'll mix some sort of colour for the building itself. So a mixture of red and brown, and a tiny bit of blue as well, just to tone that down. And a little bit of yellow as well. Just trying that. Yeah, so I can kind of go in there. We've got everything mixed. Got the sort of archway. I mean the fountains, I'll pretty much paint the background, and I can either white bits out for the fountains or just wait for it to dry and paint that over the top. So for the time being, I'll paint the whole shape there. And that can come down here. And we'll have some sort of reddy colours to go over the top of this. The fluorescent lights. Just making that a little bit bigger. I've left a little bit of space like there is in the photo, which I think works better. And then the background blue, I use some ultramarine blue, and I've got a little bit of, I think it's magenta here, which will make it slightly purpley. This stage I use a little bit of medium with the paint. So this will, it means that I can thin the paint a little bit without it being it'll kind of keep its gloss a little bit, and it will keep the strength in the pigment. So if I just kept using water, the danger is that the paint wouldn't adhere properly to the board, it would all crack up. So using medium is quite a good way of working. So again, just checking the tones. I wanted the building very slightly lighter than the background, so now I'm getting some dark blues on there. I can start to just really evaluate if I've got the tones correct. I quite like the way that's slightly transparent. Some of the undercolour is showing through, which with oil paint it's quite a nice way to work, sort of working almost like in glazes, so that some of the underpainting shows through. Often that keeps it a bit more lively. But I'll keep it quite dark just around there and just lighten it as I go through. And that's where the medium's useful. As it keeps the strength of the paint but thins it out a little bit. Keeps it transparent on it. So that I can keep working through there. That will carry on through there. What next? Probably some of the. I'll just kind of paint through a small section rather than paint the whole quid. So if I brought that down here, and I'll bring some of the red back in from building. I'm just mixing some of that through here. I'm going to use the rag just to wipe a little bit of that back, and then I can start to get some of the fountains themselves in. On a suitable brush, maybe that one. So I quite like these pinky colours. Pick some of those up. Again, just magenta and a little bit of white. And we think things like these, I like to go a little bit darker to start with, and then the very brightest bits I'll put on at the end. So I'll go a little bit lilac to start with. And actually there's really actually probably what I should do is get some of these greys in. Yeah, let's get those in first, the background. The idea is to work sort of background to foreground. And get some slightly darker in here. The good thing about if you've got an underpainting that's dry, then I can always get back to these figures and just wipe back to them. So if I'm just working over the top of them, it doesn't really matter too much. Or working into them. These ones I've just added, so that they won't stay around long. Just want to get that effect of this kind of shiny. So go a little bit dark to start with, and then paint some of the lights into there. And then on top of that, I can then put some of these. This will be quite interesting. These sort of pinky glows. I'm kind of doing a mixture of these two. little bit brighter. A little bit sort of here, for instance. That's that bit. And then brighter still. Let's get that lighter. And here it's picking up a little bit of the colour that's up there. That shouldn't matter too much, perhaps make that a little bit pinker. So sort of actually mixing it on the board a bit. So it's a basic kind of background to foreground, and then the figures I would work in the next. So maybe I'll do a little bit of the figures next time. Does that help? Hopefully. That's sometimes the way it doesn't work. And then, yeah, actually with the fountains, if I wanted to get them really bright, I kind of want a bit of a mixture of these two, because I like the way she's silhouetted, but I like the pinkness of that. So maybe try and go somewhere in the middle of that. Put a few highlights in just at the end like that, and drag the paint across. Right, okay.